I have to say thank you to you guys, because you bring me these incredible people to talk to, and I get to hear again the journey and the growth that happens from the introduction to, okay, so we knew then, but now we understand more, so we're going to do this now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I can remember too some of those first engagements with Horizon, and Jeremy stood out as someone that was in the conversations and really reflective. Like you could see the concentration and the thought that was going on and the connections that were being made. It wasn't always vocalized within the larger group setting, but each time you come back, he'd be able to share, okay, here's what we've set up from the last time. And it was really remarkable. I think it really speaks to any of the leaders that are listening here, that idea of ongoing implementation. And I mentioned it in our conversation, that ready, fire, aim, understanding it's not going to be perfect at any stage, really. It's ongoing development, and that we're continually enhancing and building upon the collaborative response in our building. And you heard him talk about, now we've created a consistent schedule. Now we've gone back and refined our continuum of supports. Now we have a data piece, and now we're looking at another data piece that'll inform. I really love that reminder from him of it's an ongoing evolution.
But the one thing from that really stood out to me too was when he was talking about the development of his continuum of supports and how kind of borrowed things when they first started, but then actually moving it to teacher involvement and decision making around what actually goes on that continuum.
Yeah.
And I love that there was that clear development and knowledge that we actually need to move it to a process so that our team who are currently in our building now have some, not just buy-in, but they have clear involvement in the development of that continuum, because it becomes much more meaningful to the staff when they're using it too.
Well, and I think he really spoke to the idea of that continuum development being all about a conversation about teaching and learning. And then I love the application, and we've heard of several systems that have done that, of taking the continuum and really refining tier one so that we get commonly understood what do we agree will be the best practices we'll see in every classroom, and then utilizing that as a source when engaging in walkthrough observations. And I loved even the peer-to-peer. I'm thinking about those 4 intern teachers that he was talking about. What an incredible resource for them to be able to say, here's the things that you should be able to see in our classrooms for each and every student, whether you're coming into a kindergarten classroom or a senior sciences, like you said.
And you know what? The other thing that really stood out to me with Jeremy too was the fact that we sometimes engage in this, well, we always engage in strategic planning and work going forward because we want to see a difference for our students. That's our goal in education, is we want to see a difference for kids.
Make a difference.
But Jeremy continually referred to that focus on teaching, that we know that we're going to make a difference to students when we focus on teaching. And you do that in a way that is in the moment and within the conversations, within the defined collaboration that they have established in their school, and on the continuum of supports and the and the data and evidence. Every piece of that is really focused on teaching.
As he talked about the development of the continuum of supports and then the implementation into, like you said, Kurtis, classroom walkthroughs, supervision, and so on, and the peer observations, I'm like, this is what we do with students when we develop criteria around rubrics and how we help them implement it. And wow, like the power of, as a teacher, I now know it is very clear in front of me, where sometimes those evaluations, I mean, you get the nervous adrenaline as a result of just having someone else in your classroom. And then sometimes you're not really sure what they're there watching and what kind of feedback you might get. Like, this is a very clear process now. And I like it as a teacher because I would own it then, because I was part of the process that
The
said,
development.
here's what we agree to.
And so connected, right? Everything is so connected. It's so
Everything is so connected. And he said that a handful of times.
Yeah.
So we'll quick summarize here a few key learnings, right? First one being ongoing development. He talked a lot about the reflection and the connections, and okay, we learned this over here, but actually that implements over there. So it's never done. Collaborative response is not something you do and walk away from. It really is about that ongoing tweaking to continue to improve things, which leads to another one around the focus on improving things for students, but really doing that through the focus on teaching, building up that collective efficacy. And then I wrote down something borrowed to something built.
Yeah.
That idea of, okay, so we do the best with what we know. And so we started out building a continuum based on things other people were using because we needed something to start with, but the power that comes from the co-development of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that really does point to, and he mentioned it with the repeated visits to the school division, that each time we're adding another piece, another understanding, and that cyclical nature of change and growth in a school.
But little by little,
right?
Which takes us to his analogy of the ratchet, which, just a little bit at a time, we keep making these shifts and we make these improvements. And such a powerful way to look at things.
And I will highlight how much he appreciates the ongoing support from you two as a team. I mean, this is what you do, right? You go in, but you know that you need to give time and space for things to be tried. And then you go back in and ask some questions. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a hammer and a nail. It really is about that ongoing support, and your master facilitators and the incredible questions that you ask people to consider in their process so that they can have ownership of what they're doing in their schools. So he highlighted that. And so I'm going to put it here because that's why I love working with you.
Well, thanks, Jen. We're excited to have a whole new season of these conversations and continue to learn alongside incredible leaders that are doing great things for their staff, who in turn are doing amazing things for their students and school communities. So really excited for our conversations this year.
So lucky to be able to engage with such incredible leaders and educators.